Okay, today I'm canceling The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. He is canceled for various high crimes and misdemeanors committed in this Instagram video, which he posted this week from his weight room. In case you guys didn't know that The Rock likes to lift weights, he made sure to record the video in his weight room to remind you. So here's what he had to say.
We have had the biggest voter turnout in the history of the United States. And, that is such a big deal because, it tells me, number one, we were unified on that day. And just in terms of everybody coming together, everybody coming out to vote, mailing in your ballots, doing everything you possibly can, exercising the democratic right to vote, which was a beautiful thing. But it also tells me that this is the most engaged our country has ever been in the history, again, of the United States. So for the fact that we can come together and be this engaged and be unified on the day of voting. Now, we voted for different people, but that's okay. We still came out and we voted. I wanted to shoot this yesterday when the news broke, but I got a little emotional. Admittedly so, I got a little emotional yesterday. Manly tears, of course. I may have cried a tear or two or 10, but they were all very manly. All my tears are manly. But the reason why I got emotional yesterday was because of what I felt my vote represented. And I was talking to Lauren, my wife, we were talking about our two little baby girls, and that's exactly what my vote represented. My vote represented my little daughters. My vote represented humanity. My vote represented decency. It represented the values and the principles of which we teach our little girls. And my vote also, for me, represented the importance of just being a good, decent human being.
Okay, so a lot of problems here. First of all, this stuff about how we should be so proud and happy that all these people voted, I've already made my opinion on that known. I don't see anything especially praiseworthy or laudable or desirable about the simple act of voting. The fact that lots of people do it is not something to be celebrated in and of itself. And if they're voting for a literal dementia patient, then that's even more reason to refrain from giving a standing ovation. Then he says, we voted for decency, whatever that means. I'm still waiting for evidence of this mythical decency from Joe Biden. But none of that is the point. The real problem is that The Rock says he cried manly tears over the election results. No, those tears were not manly. The Rock. The term manly tears is in almost all cases a contradiction, a non sequitur. It's self-refuting. There are precisely 6 exceptions to this rule. 6 times when a man may cry. We've already gone over this, I think, a couple times. Somehow The Rock didn't get the memo, so we'll go over it again. Here are the acceptable opportunities for a man to cry. These are the only 6. Number 1, death of an immediate family member. Pretty self-explanatory. It has to be immediate family member. Number 2, you get your arm stuck in a wood chipper. I'm going to allow the shedding of 8 to 9 manly tears in that circumstance. Don't overdo it, though. Don't abuse the privilege. Don't milk it, okay? Number 3, the piece of sporting equipment that you bonded with while stuck on a desert island for 3 years drifted away while you tried to row a makeshift raft to safety. For this, I think Tom Hanks provides an acceptable model. He, of course, had a full-on breakdown, sobbing, screaming, the whole enchilada. But it was okay because he had developed a familial bond with the volleyball. In this case, it really falls under number 1, the death of a family member. Number 4, your firstborn son is awarded the Medal of Honor or the Heisman. This is a time of tears of pride. But note where I stipulate firstborn. It has to be your firstborn. Because if your second son gets it after your firstborn son, it's going to be old news at that point. And you're going to kind of be annoyed. You're going to say, hey, get your own thing. Live your own life, all right? On the other hand, if your second achieves those honors, but your first son didn't, your pride will be stained by the bitter embarrassment of your oldest son being such a disappointment by comparison. I mean, your younger son is a war hero, and your oldest son, who you had such high hopes for, is like working at Chipotle. This disparity, I think, will ruin the moment, at least a little bit. Number 5, you're trying to get out of a speeding ticket. This is controversial. I'm going to allow tears here. It's never worked for me, I should warn you, and I have tried. But whatever you have to do, if it works, it works, by any means necessary. If you can cry your way out of an IRS audit, too, then more power to you. I'll allow that as well. 6, finally, a brief moment of crying will be allowed upon the completion of a long and arduous journey to a long-sought destination. So say if you're a 16th century explorer sailing to the New World, a future astronaut reaching a new planet, Or if you're me, when I walked through 3 terminals in Atlanta to get to the one restaurant in the whole airport with decent tacos. Any of those scenarios, or something similar, will constitute an appropriate excuse to cry. However, you will notice that your favorite politician winning an election is not on the list. And I feel like I should also mention that running out of steroids is also not on the list. I'm not saying that would be relevant to The Rock. I'm just mentioning it for no reason. Just throwing that in there. So, The Rock is canceled, along with any men who cry for invalid reasons. Well, I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Matt Walsh Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right down there so you can stay up to date on all of our future content.